My name is Yui Nakamura. I was 20 years old when the event that changed my life happened on April 17th, 2025, in the ancient city of Kyoto in Japan. That day was the beginning of a journey that would later lead to my arrest, rejection by my own family, and a life I never imagined I would live. Before I continue with my story, please write in the comments where you are watching or reading from. It helps us feel like a family, even if we are far from one another. When we know where people are joining from, we can remember each other in prayer and encourage one another. I was born into a family deeply connected to the traditions of Shinto. My father was a respected caretaker of a local shrine, and many people in our community knew our family because of our service to the old traditions. From the time I was very small, my life was connected to the shrine. My childhood home was close to the shrine grounds. Almost every morning I woke up to the sound of bells and quiet prayers. The smell of burning incense often filled the air. My father spent many hours performing rituals that people believed would bring peace, luck, and protection. My mother was a quiet and disciplined woman. She believed strongly in honor and obedience. She taught me to respect the traditions of our ancestors and to protect the name of our family. In her mind, our family had a duty that was larger than our personal feelings. Because of this, my future was already decided before I was even old enough to understand it. My parents planned that one day I would help serve at the shrine and continue the family tradition. Many relatives expected this. Some of them even spoke proudly about it during family gatherings. My education also followed this path. I attended a local school in Kyoto where I studied history, language, and traditional culture. My teachers often spoke about the beauty of Japanese traditions and the importance of preserving them. I was a good student and I respected my teachers. But my real training happened at home. My father spent many evenings teaching me the meaning of different rituals. He showed me how to bow properly at the shrine, how to clean sacred areas, and how to prepare items used during ceremonies. He explained the history behind many of these traditions and told me that our family had protected them for generations. In our home, loyalty to tradition was very important. My father often explained that abandoning the family belief would bring shame to our ancestors. He believed that faithfulness to tradition kept the family strong. Because of this, my life followed a simple and disciplined routine. In the morning, I helped my mother with housework. After school, I often visited the shrine to assist my father. Sometimes I helped sweep the pathways. Other times I arranged small offerings that visitors brought to the shrine. Visitors often treated my father with respect. Many people bowed when they saw him. As a child, I believed this life was honorable and peaceful. But deep inside, something in my heart often felt restless. At that time, I did not understand why. Nothing around me looked broken. My family was respected, we had enough food and a safe home. From the outside, my life looked very stable. But the truth is that the peaceful life I knew would soon begin to change. The change started slowly, in a way that no one in my family expected. It began when someone showed me something I had never seen before, something that would eventually shake the foundations of my family, anger many people in my community, and lead me into a painful season of persecution that I never imagined I could survive.
One afternoon after school, I walked through a small street near the train station in Kyoto. The street was busy with people going home from work. Some people carried shopping bags while others hurried toward the buses and trains. I was tired that day. School had been long, and my father expected me to come to the shrine later that evening to help clean the courtyard before the next day's ceremony. I remember walking slowly because my feet felt heavy. As I passed a small public bench near a quiet corner of the street, I noticed an older woman sitting there with a small bag beside her. She looked calm and peaceful. Her face was gentle, and she watched people walking by. When I walked closer, she politely greeted me with a smile. She then showed me a small book she was holding. I recognized that it was not a book I had seen before. It was a Bible. At first, I felt nervous. In my family, anything connected to Christianity was considered foreign and dangerous to our traditions. My father often warned that such beliefs could confuse young people and make them abandon the ways of their ancestors. The woman spoke to me kindly. She told me she often sat in that area and shared stories from the Bible with people who were curious. She explained that the book spoke about love, forgiveness, and hope through someone named Jesus Christ. I remember standing there quietly. Part of me wanted to leave quickly because I feared someone from the shrine community might see me, but another part of me felt curious. The woman then showed me a short passage in the Bible. She explained that the message spoke about a God who loved people personally and cared about their suffering. She revealed to me that many people around the world believed in this message of hope. Her words were gentle, but they stayed in my mind. Before I left, she placed a small paper in my hand. On the paper was the name of a small gathering place where people sometimes met to read the Bible together. When I walked away, my heart felt strange. I remember holding that paper tightly while walking home. I kept looking around to make sure no one noticed it in my hand. That night at home, I helped my father clean the shrine courtyard as usual. The lanterns were glowing softly, and the air smelled of incense. My father looked serious as he prepared the ceremonial items for the next day. But while I swept the ground, my thoughts were far away. I kept thinking about the woman and the small book she showed me. For many days I tried to ignore the memory. I focused on school and my duties at the shrine, but the curiosity inside my heart continued to grow. Finally, one evening after school, I decided to visit the place written on the small paper. The building was small and simple. It looked very different from the shrines I had known all my life. Inside, a few people sat together quietly, reading from the Bible. A kind man welcomed me when I entered. He explained that they met regularly to learn about the teachings of Jesus. He showed me several stories from the Bible and helped me understand them in simple ways. I began visiting secretly. Each time I went, I learned more about the message of Jesus. The people there treated me with kindness. They listened patiently when I asked questions. Slowly, something deep inside my heart began to change. But the more I learned, the more I also felt afraid. I knew that if my family discovered where I had been going, the reaction would be severe. In our community, leaving the traditions of our ancestors was considered a deep betrayal. Still, my curiosity continued to grow.
One cold evening, something happened that changed everything. I had returned home later than usual after visiting the small gathering where people studied the Bible. I tried to enter the house quietly, but as soon as I stepped inside, I noticed that the atmosphere in the living room felt tense. My father was sitting at the table. My mother stood beside him with a serious expression on her face. My younger brother sat silently in the corner. The room felt heavy, as if something terrible had already happened. My father slowly lifted a small book from the table. It was the Bible I had been reading secretly. My heart immediately began to beat very fast. My father explained that he had entered my room earlier that day to place some laundry inside my closet. While doing this, he discovered the Bible hidden under my school bag. He told me that he already suspected something strange because I had been coming home late many evenings.
Then he revealed that a neighbor had seen me entering the small Christian gathering place near the train station. At that moment, I knew the truth could no longer be hidden. My father asked many questions about where I had been going and what I had been learning. His voice grew louder as the conversation continued. I tried to explain that I had simply been curious about the teachings of Jesus. I told him that the people there were kind and that the message of love and forgiveness had touched my heart. But my explanation only made the situation worse. My father's face became red with anger. He revealed that abandoning the faith of our ancestors would bring deep shame to our entire family. He reminded me that our family had served the shrine for generations and that many people in the community respected our name. My mother began to cry quietly. She explained that people in our community would begin to gossip if they learned that the daughter of a shrine caretaker was studying the Bible. My father then made a decision that shocked me. He told me that I was forbidden from visiting that place again. He also said that the Bible would be removed from the house and destroyed so that it would never influence me again. The next few days became very difficult. My parents watched my movements closely. I was no longer allowed to go anywhere alone after school. My phone was taken away so that I could not contact anyone from the Christian gathering. But even with these restrictions, the situation grew worse. News of the conflict inside our home began spreading through the neighborhood. Some relatives visited our house to speak with my parents. Many of them believed that I had dishonored the family. A few days later, my father took another step that frightened me deeply. He reported my involvement with the Christian group to a local community authority connected to the Shrine Network. He explained to them that he feared I was being influenced by a foreign religion that could damage our family reputation. Soon after this report, 2 local officers visited our house. They questioned me about the place where I had been studying the Bible. They wanted to know who organized the meetings and how often people gathered there. The questions made me nervous. I tried to answer carefully, but I could see that my father hoped the authorities would stop me from returning there. From that moment, life inside my home became very cold. My father barely spoke to me, except to remind me of the shame he believed I had brought upon the family. My mother avoided looking at me most days because she feared what neighbors might say. But the most painful part was the feeling of isolation. I still lived in the same house, but it no longer felt like home. At night, I often lay awake thinking about everything that had happened. I wondered whether I should simply give up my new belief so that peace could return to the family. Yet something inside my heart refused to go back to the life I had known before. What I did not realize at the time was that this conflict inside my home was only the beginning.
The pressure from my family became stronger every day. One evening, my father called a family meeting. Several relatives came to our house. Some of them sat quietly, but others looked at me with disappointment and anger. My father explained to them that I had been secretly learning about Christianity. He told them that he feared I was abandoning the traditions our family had protected for generations. One of my uncles spoke with a harsh tone. He explained that people in the neighborhood had already begun talking about my actions. He revealed that the reputation of our family was being damaged. As the discussion continued, the atmosphere in the room became very heavy. My relatives tried to pressure me to promise that I would stop learning about Jesus and return fully to the traditions of our ancestors. They believed that if I simply apologized and abandoned my new belief, the problem would disappear. But something inside my heart had already changed. I tried to explain that the message of the Bible had touched my life deeply. I told them that the teachings about love, forgiveness, and hope had opened my heart in a way I could not ignore. My explanation only made the situation worse. My father became extremely angry. He revealed that if I refused to abandon Christianity, I could no longer continue living in the family home. My mother began to cry quietly while sitting at the table. I could see the pain on her face, but she was also afraid of opposing my father. The meeting ended with a decision that changed my life. My father forced me to leave the house that same night. I remember standing outside with only a small bag containing a few clothes and some personal items. The street was dark and quiet. The house where I had grown up stood behind me, but I was no longer welcome inside. The rejection was painful, but the persecution did not stop there. Within days, rumors about me spread through the community. Some neighbors avoided speaking to me when they saw me walking on the street. A few people looked at me with anger, as if I had committed a serious crime. Finding a place to stay became difficult. One small hostel refused to give me a room after the owner heard about my situation. The owner explained that he did not want trouble with local families connected to the shrine. For several nights, I slept in different places. One night, I rested on a bench near a train station. Another night, I stayed in a small waiting area that remained open during the night. The air was cold, and I often wrapped my arms around myself just to stay warm. Hunger also became a problem. I had very little money with me. Some days I only ate a small piece of bread or a cheap bowl of noodles. My body felt weak, and I often felt dizzy while walking. The emotional pain was even worse than the physical hardship. I missed my family deeply, even though they had rejected me. Sometimes I stood far away from our house at night, just looking at the lights in the windows. I wondered if my mother was inside thinking about me. During those lonely nights, I often prayed quietly. I remembered the teachings about Jesus Christ and the hope that the Bible spoke about. Those words became my strength when everything around me felt dark. Eventually, someone from the small Christian gathering heard about my situation. A kind woman from the group found me near the station one afternoon. She revealed that several members of the church wanted to help me. They offered me a small place to stay temporarily. For the first time in many days, I slept in a safe room. I also received warm food and clean clothes. The kindness they showed me reminded me that even in suffering, compassion can still exist. The persecution I faced was painful, but it also strengthened my faith. I learned that following what is true sometimes requires courage, sacrifice, and patience. Even when people reject you, hope can still survive inside your heart.